speech for Franklin D. Roosevelt. So before he became president, he attended the Groton School, which was an elite private school for the wealthiest and most powerful people, pretty much in America. A couple years later, when he went to college, he attended Harvard and graduated with a degree in business. And during his time in Harvard, he became the lead editor for the student newspaper, which kind of started his interest in the whole political career. He married Anna Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the niece to Theodore Roosevelt, and they had 6 children. He also passed the bar exam at Columbia University, but he only stayed there for 2 years. His FDR's political career was filled to the brim. Early on in it, he worked for the New York City law firm of Carter, Ledyard, and Milburn. He only worked there for about a year, maybe 2 years, before he decided he didn't really like working for law, and he changed to run for office after being requested to. He was elected state senate in New York by over 1,000 votes, so people loved him there, which was unique because he was dominated by Republicans at the time, or New York was dominated by Republicans at the time, and he was going for Democrats. But his energy, name, and wealth greatly benefited him. He assisted Woodrow Wilson in his campaign for presidency during the election of 1912 during World War I, and as a reward, Secretary of Navy requested Roosevelt to become his assistant secretary, which he largely supervised during World War I. He was elected president in November of 1932, and he was the only president to serve for 4 terms, so he served from 1932 to 1945, which is when he died. During his time, he enacted the New Deal to deal with the Great Depression, and he helped in the creation of the United Nations. He had a major role in the economy. First half, he had New Deal policies, which were during his first 100 days. He had banking reforms, emergency relief, work relief, agricultural programs. During his second half of the New Deal, he protected labor unions. He made the Social Security Act, farmer and migrant worker protections, Work Progress Administration, Civilian Conservation Corps, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corps, which were known as the alphabet soup agencies. And ultimately, the Depression ended in 1939 when World War II started. His social impact, he enacted the Executive Order 8802, which created the FEPC, or the Fair Employment Practice Committee, which helped minorities work in war-related work without any discrimination. He created relief programs for the disabled who are retired, like the Social Security Act, to make sure they could still pay for food, clothes, housing, all that. And his wife helped push for equality among gender, races, religions, all that. He maintained American neutrality early on in World War II, but he still assisted the British and Allies through the Lend-Lease program. So he gave them weapons, materials, food, resources, stuff like that. He also approved the Manhattan Project, which ultimately ended the war due to the creation of nuclear bombs. During Pearl Harbor, however, he declared it as a date which will live in infamy, which became a famous quote, which even stands today. And soon after that announcement, the U.S. joined the war. In total, he supplied $50 billion worth of resources to the Allied forces, and that was largely due to his Fort Freedom speech, which declared that everybody deserved the freedom of speech, religion, the freedom from want, and the freedom from fear. Fun facts, despite having the same last name, Theodore Roosevelt and Franklin D. Roosevelt were very hardly related. They were 5th cousins, so the closest living relative they had was in 1658. And despite many of his relatives being active members of the Republican Party, he found a success in the Democrats. It was also believed that he didn't actually have polio, but instead of Guillain-Barré syndrome. However, his misdiagnosis of polio played a major factor in discovering the cure for the illness, as many programs he backed for discovering the mysteries of it. Thank you for listening.